started, so as I said, we're going to be showing the VCA and Nx Witness integration today. We've been working with VCA for a long time. To be honest, I think they were probably one of the first partners that we worked with that could do the HTTP generic event notifications that we've done since, like 2013, 14 days. And now they have done the full Meta SDK integration, and I have to say the boundary boxes and the level of integration is very, very well done. So on that note, I'm gonna hand over to Kevin and allow Kevin to actually take you through the solutions that they offer. And then towards the end of the webinar, Simon from VCA will also show us a demo of the solution. So definitely make sure you hang around for the very end to see how well the integration works and kind of the features that will be in the integration. So on that note, Kevin, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, James, and thank you very much for arranging this. And good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Waterhouse. I head up the VCA technology team. Also on the panel today, we have Dr. Rob Dupree, who's our product manager, Simon Addison, our technical manager, Gary Mercer, our UK sales and marketing manager, and Sergey Pikulian, our European business development manager. So just very quickly, I'd like you to introduce VCA. We're a UK-based, based in London, software development team with additional support offices in the US, in Dallas, Central Europe, and in South Korea. We also have a manufacturing plant that we partner with in Vietnam for our cameras. VCA, not a startup company. We've been in this business for a long time. We were one of the very first companies involved in analytics back in 2012, and we have over 500,000 channels installed. Actually, as a record, I looked at yesterday, and it's now about 560,000. So, we think we know quite a bit about the analytics business, the good times and the bad times, and we put a lot of that experience into some of this development work we're doing now. When we set out the business, our ethos was very clear. Let's make this technology simple to use. Let's make it work, and let's make it cost effective. And I think those of you who've tested other analytics packages will probably say that in most cases, at least two of those three don't happen. It's very difficult to use, it's either very expensive, and quite often doesn't deliver what you think it will deliver. Our routes to market, we don't sell direct, we sell through global partners. So they may well be some camera OEMs that we have, there may well be some VMS partners that we have, and systems integrators, but we don't sell direct to end users. What we do, however, is to help our partners secure the deal by using our analytics experience and knowledge to help the user understand what the analytics can and can't do in the applications that they've been designed for. And we very much specialize in three areas: security, business intelligence, and traffic management. We have a very rich feature set. I'm just going to highlight this now. There's a couple of our features that are not in this first version of the release. They are being developed, and they will come over the next 2 or 3 months. So some of those things you'll see on this screen that are very common. There's lots of things you've seen there, like tamper detection, presence, enter, exit, direction, all those type of nice analytics rules. But we have a couple of what we think are quite unique things. Logical rules, for example, in the bottom left-hand corner gives you the ability to combine all of these rules to make your own rules based on the specific scene and application that you want to do. So you can combine enter and direction and presence, for example, to create a particular type of rule. But of course, like everybody else now, we're moving into the AI world, and we have actually 3 deep learning engines. We call them a deep learning filter, a deep learning object tracker, and a deep learning people tracker. Now, all of these analytics rules and features are available and supported, apart from those 3 that are in red at the moment, on the Nx plugin.
Yeah, so you still support them as a platform base. It's just that they're not inside Nx right now. So for anyone that does need those features, they are available inside the platform. They're just they're still being pushed into the Nx integration, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what people always ask, why do we have 3 different AI engines? Well, quite honestly, it's so that we can get the right type of engine for the right type of application. So we have a deep learning object tracker. This detects people, it detects vehicles and types of vehicles. For example, it can detect a car, a motorbike, a bicycle, a truck, and a van, and also some selected objects like a bag. This is one of the items that is going to be finished off in the Nx metadata presentation at the moment. The deep learning object tracker handles very dense and busy scenes. It's been designed specifically for things like traffic management, smart cities, safe cities, heavy people usage in shopping malls and that type of thing. And quite key and quite important to all of our DL engines is the fact that we don't require any calibration or any classification. So we can use existing installed cameras, just put the unit in behind that. The unit is self-calibration, and you haven't got to spend time doing a lot of setups. Our deep learning people tracker is developed specifically for very accurate people tracking in internal applications, such as car parks, shopping malls, airports, train stations, individual shops, and again requires no calibration. This uses a pose estimation algorithm, which enables us to identify individual body parts. I think it's actually 18 body parts and 4 or 5 facial parts. This gives us the ability to be very, very accurate in our detection of people. And we're also further development upon that. Because we can get the body parts, we can start looking at things like slip, trip, and fall, and other body pose positions. The deep learning filter is geared really towards external perimeter protection and typical security protection and reduction of false alarms. Again, no classification required. You can take an existing camera where you may have lots of false alarms or potentially sensitive sites that need additional bits of protection, and the deep learning filter can take that image and run it through its DL engine and decide whether that's a person or a vehicle. We don't do things like can we detect if it's a spider, or can we detect if it's a bird, or can we detect if it's a tree. We figured that those actually don't cause any real crime. We just don't want to know that they're there. So we focus on the things you do need to know, which is it's either a person or a vehicle. And where do we see these things being used? Well, there's a lot of crossover. People use the deep learning filter for perimeter protection and false alarm reduction, but they may also use the object tracker to do exactly the same purpose. It just gives you slightly different definition. For example, the object tracker would give you what type of vehicle it may be. And the pose estimation algorithm in the deep learning object tracker really geared towards counting very busy scenes, lots of people detection, but also, as I say, in Q4 we'll have the slip, trip, and fall algorithm. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of each of those in a moment. VCA can be delivered really in 2 packages. It can be a software pack, which is where we are with the NX plugin at the moment. And that can fit on a Windows or Linux device, and actually we also support ARM and Raspberry Pi. We also have the plugin available in a range of cameras that we manufacture in our facility in Vietnam, which are all NDAA approved. That's not relevant in Europe, but it is a non-Chinese product. When we talk about server and we start talking about analytics and AR analytics, one of the big questions that people tend to sort of play down or ignore a little bit is the overall cost of ownership. So it's not just about the cost of the software, it's also about the cost of the hardware that's associated with that. And to be honest, we have seen some outstanding analytics by some of our competitors, absolutely breathtaking. But the GPU requirements are sort of $15,000 sort of servers to make it run 2 or 3, 4 or 5 channels, which is just not cost effective in most applications. So we've spent a lot of time working with NVIDIA. We're part of their Metropolis program to optimize the performance of our engines with the NVIDIA cards. But as I say, we also support Raspberry Pi. So for example, an NVIDIA GTX 1660 Super card, which is fairly mid-range, around about sort of $160 to $180, the DLF can do up to 128 channels on that one card. DL People Tracker, which is a bit more consumptive, 16 channels. The Deep Learning Object Tracker, about 25 channels. Most of our applications at the moment, people are looking at the RTX 2080 as sort of a mid-range. And as you can see from the chart here, DLF up to 256 channels on one server with one GPU card. This is a chart that we're spending a lot of time on, and Simon and Rob in particular do spend a lot of time in benchmarking and testing. As I said, we've joined the NVIDIA Metropolis program, and they're helping us quite a bit to not only optimize the GPU usage, but to increase the performance as far as we possibly can. We do have a very, very wide range of cameras with the Edge NX plugin version. These cameras on this page we call the IPM range. This uses our standard analytics, so the non-AI based analytics, but still things like logical rules and dwell and speed and all those nice things. 2 meg, 5 meg, and 4K cameras. Some quite unique ones here. For example, we have a single sensor 180-degree camera. We also have multi-sensor cameras 2 and 4, and we also have some mini bullet cameras, mini bullet thermal cameras, which are very, very cost effective when it comes to doing long distance perimeter type protection. In addition to this camera range, we also have what we call the IP AI series, which handles all of our deep learning analytics. At the moment, these are all 4K cameras. The dome is currently available, the bullet, the fisheye, and the 180-degree single sensor will be available in Q4. So the question everyone asks is actually, what can VCA actually do? I mean, it's very nice to say, oh, you've got this rule, this rule, this rule, but how do you actually apply those? And as I mentioned earlier, we really split into 3 areas: security, the business intelligence, and the traffic. And we probably relate those as security data generally, because it's not just about retail. It can be about hospitality, it can be about sporting venues, and safe city. It's about traffic management and pedestrian activity. So in security, we can do perimeter protection, long distance monitoring, very, very strong in reducing false alarms, removed and abandoned objects, general object detection, and a lot of search by the metadata. So we provide the metadata for every frame, whether that's an event or non-event. So all that metadata is stored. And I know once the search feature and the search functions available in the next release, or 4.3 release, we're going to be working very closely to make sure that our analytics metadata is tied into that search. In terms of data and retail, hospitality, etc., we have occupancy, we have traffic flow. Traffic flow are people moving around stores or moving around shopping malls. Queue management, we do heat maps based upon both the amount of time people are spending in areas and the volume of people in areas. Obviously footfall, and again, the search by the metadata. For safe city type applications, traffic management, analyzing the flow of traffic around a city. What are the pinch points where violations taking place? Are people stopping where they shouldn't be stopping, driving down the wrong streets, etc.? What are pedestrians doing? What's the activity in the pedestrians? Are there areas there's a lot of pedestrians going where they shouldn't? Again, a lot of metadata being provided. We can provide vehicle type analysis. So are there lots of trucks? Are there lots of lorries? Are there lots of buses? Are there cars in bus lanes? And we can provide some speed analysis. So it's not meant to be an enforcement for speed, but to give the city planners and the town centre managers an indication of the average type of speeds of traffic in certain areas. So I'm going to give you a few examples of some of these now. So the first one I want to talk about is perimeter protection. And this clip's going to show you actually a thermal camera that isn't particularly well mounted. You'll see when the screen starts, there's quite a lot of movement, which most analytics would struggle to deal with. The target area here is that there are people crossing over a border point, and it's about 100 meters away. Again, we want to emphasize here that there's no complex setups. You're basically just taking the video feed, you set the zone that you want to look at, and you just select play, and off you go. So let me see if I can get this onto full screen for you as well. And this is actually showing you how this is alarmed in the NX. As you can see, you'll be familiar with the alarm notifications here with the green borders going around the side. So first of all, we're identifying that it's an object, and then we're identifying that that object is actually a person. And that's all we want to do with the deep learning filter. So this is using the deep learning filter, which, as I say, can handle up to 256 channels on a fairly standard GPU. And you'll notice that there's quite a lot of movement going on around the sides. There's quite a lot of sway, and there's quite a lot of movement going on the camera. And that's not causing any false alarms or any alerts at all. It is just the objects that we're picking up. For some reason that's gone into another mode.
Are we getting technical problems now?
No, it's okay. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, that's all right. It always happens.
Yeah. So the next one is going to be how we reduce false alarms. So this again is a scene which is very typical for where analytics would normally fail, where there's lots of wind, lots of rain, lots of bad light. And this is using a camera that's only actually running at 6 frames per second. So I'll show you this one. And again, this is running through the NX platform, but you can see there's no alerts going off. Although this is a really difficult environment, there's lots of thunder, there's lots of lightning, there's lots of rain, there's lots of noise. This would normally cause a lot of false alarms, and the deep learning filter is being able to deal with all of that and say, well, no, there's no people there, there's no vehicles within this zone, I can ignore everything else that's going on. Obviously, therefore, reducing false alarms quite significantly. Let's move this on to the next slide. One of the things we do really well with our new deep learning object tracker is to detect not only people and vehicles, but types of vehicles and certain objects. So this scene will be of an entrance to a lobby, and we're going to be looking at the detection of people coming in and out of that. And whilst they might not be causing any events, it could be in the future you'd want to say, actually, I want to see who was coming in this lobby that may have had a bag on them or left a bike in the area. So again, we'll show you how the deep learning object tracker handles particular. So here you see them coming in, and guy with a bike, and we've also picked up his bag. Now you have a sensitivity and a probability calculation here, so you can decide on where you want to set the alert level. So how confident are you or not confident are you? But you can see here we're hooking onto this person even though they're stood still, and we've been able to identify that as a person and that there's a bag. See them coming in again. Okay. We mentioned about the use of our deep learning people tracker in terms of for retail type applications or for occupancy and business intelligence type applications. This is a scene in a shopping mall, and again they wanted to look at the number of people coming in, the number of people coming out. Now, first glance, you probably think this is quite a simple thing to do, and actually we make it look quite simple. The reality is that those sliding doors and the light outside and the shiny floor and the black and white stripes on the carpet would cause a lot of analytics to fail very miserably. But we're only picking up the people because we're using the pose estimation to say, actually, we can see this thing has got arms and legs and a head, therefore that's a person. If it hasn't got that, it's not a person. And actually all we use is the shoulders and the head. We figured most people would have a shoulders and the head. Even if you can't see the legs, we've at least picked up the shoulders and the head to be able to distinguish the people. So you can add this to some sort of a reporting tool to enable the number of people going in and out at certain times of day, or the number of people in the location. Let's move on the slide. Traffic management has become very important. There's more and more requirements to sort of look at how traffic is being monitored and the type of traffic you have in certain areas. We're using the deep learning object tracker here at a junction to monitor the traffic flow, to check how many vehicles are going in certain directions, what type of vehicles there are, and look for any violations where people are going through lights or turning in the wrong areas in the wrong directions. So I'll quickly play this one for you. So you can see we picked up a bicycle there and the person on the bicycle, and we're monitoring cars fairly easy as they come through. And you can see this is going to get quite busy in a moment, that we're hooking into individual cars and being able to stay on those cars even though there's posts in the way, and we're managing to sort of deal with the occlusions pretty well. We've got plenty of clips that are being used at night as well, because one of the things that analytics has been quite difficult to deal with is at night time and headlights and traffic lights. We've got some great footage of this same type of scene, but used with the headlights, and it has no effect on our analytics at all. This one. I mentioned earlier about reporting and business intelligence, and we do have a tool called DataPoint, and at the moment we're working on integrating that into the NX platform, which we should have completed within the next 90 days. And this will give you the ability to take the outputs from our analytics and the metadata that we provide and start producing reports straight on the NX platform. And those reports are typically going to be heat maps by either time or footfall, Excel data and reporting data, or full graphs, depending on what your customer would like to see. This will be a very, very powerful tool combining our analytics with a reporting tool and the NX platform, which we think will be quite unique. So let me summarize the advantage of the plugin that we've developed here. We've added a configuration tool, which gives you a much wider range of tools with a less complex setup. It's a very strong branding and look and feel within the NX platform. As James and Jason alluded to earlier, we've done a very, very tight metadata level integration. The bounding boxes that we put in have been very close. The setups are very good. Our business model is a one-time license fee, so you know what, we're not asking for annual renewals or software maintenance. It's a one-off fee, which is we think very reasonable. And in fact, for the NX partners, we've got a special price available for our analytics packages. We try to minimize both the CPU and the GPU requirements to keep the overall costs very low. We do have a range of cameras which can be available either as an OEM brand with a minimum order quantity of just 25, so not too onerous. But if that's not something that people want to go for, we can also have unbranded cameras. But it's the same plugin features for both the server version and the camera versions. So once you're familiar with one setup and one type of rule sets, you can migrate between the two very easily. We're going to be adding the business intelligence tool to give you reporting for graphs and for heat maps. And as I mentioned earlier, the team that's on the call today, plus our representatives in the US and in APAC, are here to help you drive the sales, to make sure that we've communicated efficiently with you guys, and that we can get that information to your customers effectively, so that they understand what the analytics can do, and most importantly, what they can't do, so that their expectations are not diminished when they start getting a lot of false activations and events that are not accurate. So that's a quick introduction to who VCA are and some of the things that we do. I'd now like to hand over to Simon Addiston, who's our technical manager, who can go through with you the actual setup within the NX platform, and so you can have a look at how tight this integration is. So Simon, over to you.
Thank you, Kevin. So if what I'd like to do is just see if I could get the presenter controls so I can show the screen. Thank you very much.
Just move them over to you. I think you should be able to. There we go.
Okay, so hopefully you guys should be able to see my VCA Nx presentation screen. So thank you for this chance to show you this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a combination of a couple of slides just to describe the process of installation, and then I'm going to show you a live example of setting up a camera in NX, and then also configuring the analytics process as well. So just to describe some of the prerequisites for installing our NX plugin is that you need to have a platform to install it on. You need to have NX Witness server and the client installed. The platform which you install our plugin onto needs to have a GPU card in there with a particular compute rating in order to allow the DL features to work properly. And we'll see it needs another component, which is the CUDA toolkit. So you can see on the right-hand side, I've tried to give an idea of how the system works in combination with the other components on NX. The installation process is pretty simple. It's available on both Linux and on Windows. On Windows, it's just a very simple installer, and on Linux, it's just an SH file which you load onto the system. And it's a very simple process to load the particular components that you need. The VCA Nx component, it does need to be licensed along with all the other components that need to be licensed. We've presented you with a license page that allows you to input various licenses. You can put a combination of different license packages into the system, and you can see that on the left-hand side, I've shown that you can also put it as a web page inside your NX Witness client as well. So it's very easy to get access to that web page. Once you've got the system loaded, the only really two things you need to do inside the NX Witness server is you need to configure the server to use the NX Witness plugin server component. So you do that by going to the system administration page and configuring the NX plugin component there. And then the only thing you need to do after that is select the cameras which you want to use the VCA Nx plugin. You then go into the settings for the camera, and then you simply enable the feature against that camera. Once you've enabled the feature, you then have to configure the analytics component. And what we've done is we've actually developed our own design tool, our own specialized tool that allows you to configure the analytics in a nice, fully featured way. So that should take you to the end of that. So that then brings you to the point where you've now got to configure analytics. So what I'm going to do is see if I can flick over to a live example of NX. So I'm hoping on your screen at the moment, you should be able to see the NX client software. So on this piece of software, what I'm going to do is just log in. I've got, I had this system running for a while, so hopefully there's some archives on there as well. So this is some sample equipment. So you've probably seen these example clips from Kevin already. What I'm going to do is just load up a blank screen just to get them out of the way. And I'm going to configure a new camera from scratch. So on my system, I've got an RTSP server which is giving me video streams, which is what I'm going to connect to. And just enter the username and password. Okay, so there's a single stream where I'm going to connect to it. And now that's been added. Just give it a couple of seconds and it should appear on our left-hand sides. Perfect. So I've got this camera here. It should come up and start working shortly. Oh, he's displaying something.
It's always the moment of truth, trying to get things to work on the fly. It's the law of the demo.
Law of the demo, it's just there not working. So what I'll do is I'll bring up another example here that I've got running already, and I can show you how we do configure it. So in this example that you've got here, we've already got the annotation running, we've already got analytics running. I'll just show you the objects there. So this is our annotated analytics, which is being fed into NX and then being displayed and annotated on the screen. So usually what you would do from this point, if you could imagine this is a new camera, is you would go into your camera settings, you configure the recording as you would normally do with a camera inside your system, and then you'd go to the plugin section and you would enable the VCA Nx plugin. Once you've enabled the plugin, you will see there are all these options for configuring the analytics, and you are welcome to use them. What we've done is we wanted to provide a few more features and provide the experience a little bit better. So what we did is we created our own application for configuring the analytics in NX. So I'm just going to call up that program now. You'll notice the program itself, it looks almost the same as the NX interface. So we did that on purpose to also, just to make the process seem like it's a seamless process. I've saved the username and password in this case just to save me from typing it in again. And then what we do is we display a filtered view of just the cameras which you've enabled the analytics for, so that you don't have to worry about selecting the right camera or the wrong camera. And if I just click on the settings, the interface again looks almost the same. I've got the same sort of options for setting which license I'd like to use and which tracking engine I'd like to use. And if I just go to my rules, I now have the ability just to add a simple rule. So if I was to add another rule to this, and I'll do something very simple like a direction, and I will put it somewhere like here. This is probably going to produce a lot of events, but if I put it here, then all it will do is it will tell me when vehicles are passing this way. And applying the rule is as simple as that. And as soon as I've applied the rule, it's now active in the background straight away. So it's now being used straight away inside the system. In this particular scenario, what I've got is notifications, just a desktop notification that's coming up to tell me when the event occurs. So you can see the green bounding box going as the objects are crossing. So I've got when cars are crossing and then going across on this road here, and then when cars are coming down. So we're about to see lots and lots of events occurring. And there they go. So you get the same sort of experience with NX that you do with everything else. You can view those archives. You can view the bookmarks. You can create bookmarks annotations from the rules set features against each of the cameras. And that's how easy it is to do the analytics in NX. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, that looks really good, to be fair. I think one of the nice things I like about what you guys are doing is you're really focusing on getting rid of the false reads, right? Like you're not doing there's a lot of systems out there that still send us metadata for, you know, like a lamppost that looks like a person, so it marks it as a person. I think you've done a lot of work to really kind of classify and narrow down like exactly what a person is, which I think is adds a lot of value to the system, right? Because it really kind of makes the confidence values a lot higher. I know from what I've seen from what Jason's testing is also the boundary boxes seem to be a lot closer and a lot more accurate. They're not kind of trailing like in a lot of other systems. There's kind of trailing boundary boxes and things. So
yeah, I think you're right there, James. And in the example that Simon just gave there, you could all that traffic crossing, you got to filter that to say just show me motorbikes crossing there, or just alarm on trucks crossing there. You know, so you've got lots of options to sort of use the deep learning object trackers and deep learning filters and the people trackers to give you exactly what you need, as opposed to just saying, okay, I'm not really sure what I want, but let's just get everything through, and suddenly you're getting lots of events.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm pretty excited to use it on some live projects. As I said, we've been working with you guys for quite a while, I think. You know, when I was over in the manager of Australia, we were working with your cameras that had the built-in VCA, and we were doing the generic event notifications. And I think now this kind of takes it to the next level and really gives some good application use. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to use the question box in your menu section and write a question. If you don't want to ask any questions here, feel free to reach out to us or reach out to VCA, to Kevin or Simon or Rob. Do you have a generic email address, info at or something like that, Kevin?
Yeah, we have it. Info at VCA Technology comes to all the people on the panel, and we'll deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone's got any questions, reach out to myself or whoever your local NX Witness sales rep may be, whether it's me, Jason, or Oscar, or Sergey, or any of the above. Or if you want to reach out to VCA Technologies directly, feel free to use their info at vcatechnologies.com. Or if you want us to put you in touch with them, just let us know. We have one question that's just come in. When you create an analytic rule from VCA, do you still need to use the generic event? No, I don't think so, Kevin or Simon. Have you how much have you tested it? So when you now have, I assume, in the rules and events engine, you can now have a VCA event rule.
That's great. So configuring the analytics is a simple process through the tool that we've provided. So that data then is automatically fed in. The event data is already being used. The only thing you really need to set up with inside the NX process is how you're going to react to that event occurring. So if you're talking about, for instance, the camera rules, that's the only thing you do need to set up. You need to set up how you're going to react to that event. So you can see in here, I've set up a very simple traffic example where I'm doing a bookmark.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a generic event. It would basically be you select analytic event, and then under analytic event, part of the plugin allows you to then tap into all the VCA events. So you can see from the drop down, which Simon's showing you now, under event type, you select the one you want, and then you can alert based on that event coming in. So no problem. If anyone else has got any questions, feel free to ask away. We'll stay on for a couple of minutes just in case anyone does want to ask a question. And like I said, if not, feel free to reach out to us and we'll put you in touch with the relevant person or answer any questions you've got. as I said, it looks very good, obviously from a webinar, which always looks kind of neat and tidy, but Jason's also been testing it pretty thoroughly in our Taiwan office, and he's had very good results, which is good. So we've got another one. Does the VCA plugin only from... No, the VCA camera plugin works. I think I'm correct in this. Works with all camera models. It can work with RTSP streams or HTTP streams. I don't think there's any.
No, that's right. There's two versions. So what the server version works with any camera, any IP camera that sends an RTSP stream, and then if people want particular edge analytics, and then we also have cameras available as well. But it will work with any camera.
Yeah, so it's basically it's a server-based software, right, Kevin? So if you have a Windows machine that's running NX on it, as you know, NX is very, very lightweight in terms of the processing powers that it requires. So it could probably sit very nicely alongside the VCA software, and you can just kind of run it all on a single machine and be able to then run AI on any of the cameras that you need to. I mean, for specific VCA cameras models. So if you're using the VCA camera models, Kevin, the ones that you have, that you guys manufacture, does the plugin work on all the VCA cameras, or is it only on specific VCA camera models?
It works on the two latest ranges, so the IPM range, which has been sold for the last year, and now the new IP AI range. So it won't work on the very old cameras, but if it's the newer versions of the last 12 months, it works on all of them. So all of the chart shows you all those cameras, be they the thermal cameras or the multi-sensor cameras or the standard domes or whatever. They all work with the plugin. Yeah, no problem.
No problem. Cool. If anyone has got any questions, feel free to throw them out there. We'll stay on a little bit longer, just in case anyone else wants to throw a question out, other than Zohar.
Kevin, just a quick question about the data point. It's going to the data point. Is it a web application or it's a software application we have to install on a computer or server?
It's a software application that would sit on a Windows server, but it is very, very, very light. So it's a minimal sort of CPU usage.
Yeah, we're actually working with the guys from DataPoint to try and make sure that they can be all the graphs and the analytic information for business intelligence or any of those kind of features can be brought in to NX via the web interface feature, right, Kevin? So hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll actually be able to have dedicated graphing and things for bringing into NX via the web interface for like showing the demographics, like the graphs and like in and out and things like that. So it should be interesting. Sorry, Jason, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, that's my question. Thanks a lot, James. Yeah, that would be very interesting to have a web portal to access the data from the data points. Yeah. But it's great. It's great to have a dashboard solution like this. Yeah, like we have collected so many metadata, not only the events. Sometimes the users also want to see the trend of the data. So it's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, very powerful tool, and it's something that a lot of our customers are very, very comfortable with using because it's not very complicated. I mean, you can get a lot of very complex business intelligence tools that need a whole department to analyze the data. So we wanted to avoid that, but it makes use of the metadata that we can provide.
And another question is that if there's some use cases are using for example, industrial computer without a NVIDIA GPU graphic card, is it still possible to run the VCA applications on via a Intel embedded graphic cards, or it's necessary to have a NVIDIA graphic card?
I'm going to let Rob answer this, but actually splits into two parts. So if you want to use the standard analytics, say the non-AI stuff, yes, you can crack on and use that. Absolutely no problem at all. But I think, Rob, I'm right in saying if you want to use the AI-based, at the moment we're just supporting NVIDIA, not Intel.
Yeah, that's right. The the back end of our deep learning is powered by a thing called TensorRT, which is an NVIDIA proprietary engine. And the reason it's so good is it's optimized exclusively for their cards. So we actually switched from that in our last version. So 1.4 to 1.5, one of the changes we made was that, and we jumped about 30% in terms of the number of channels that we could support on the same hardware. So at the moment, it's just NVIDIA hardware. Some of the applications, the DL applications, do run on CPU, but things like the deep learning filter, you can do a number of channels on the CPU. But typically, because the overheads and the way to provide access to the other algorithms, such as the deep learning object tracker and the deep learning people tracker, we do recommend an NVIDIA GPU of some kind.
Got it. Clear. Thanks a lot.
Just another question coming in. 2 seconds, because my screen's being weird. Can we do in NX software a switch with analytics filter, like search for all person detected in a period of time without creating a rule in NX rules engine? Yes, so that's actually one of the advantages of doing the meta integration. So basically all the metadata will flow into our system and then we'll database it. So basically you can say between this time and this time, or you can just say show me all the people, and then on the timeline all the people should then be highlighted in yellow, and then you can narrow it down to search exactly what you want to, and then hopefully in the future version in the next couple of months or less you'll actually be able to search colors as well, right, Kevin? So you can say like show me any people that are wearing a red top, for instance. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, so we're splitting at the moment we have color, and we're just adjusting that so you can say between sort of the top half and the bottom half, so you can work on top or bottoms or whatever. And also we could apply it to vehicles as well. So you can say, okay, search for a red car within this area at this sort of time, and bring those out as well, because that's part of combining both the object filter, i.e. the types of vehicles, stroke people, and the color filter.
Yeah, that'll be very nice when that is finished. Can you show in NX how it's done? Simon, do you still have NX open on your computer so you can maybe share your screen? Or are you still sharing your screen actually? You could just show on the right hand side there, if you go to the objects tab all the way to the right, that's that on. And then if you go to type under any type, if you click that, there you go. So there you go. So you can select person, and then it will basically now it will show you only times where people have been detected. So you can see on the timeline there, it's actually yellow. So if Simon like scrolls into the timeline, he'll get a breakdown of all the times that people are detected. So if you want to look at a specific time or date, it will just now run through any time that a person is detected. So you can change it to vehicles. You saw there when Simon clicked the type, there was quite a few different types there. There was vehicles, there was clutter, and all the different kind of objects and groups of people and things like that. So basically, if you click any of those, it will change the filter on the right hand side to only show you the things that you're searching for, and then you can change, obviously use the timeline to search for a specific time, and then it will just jump you through anytime a vehicle or a person or whatever it may be has been detected. So it's much better than using motion detection, right? Because motion detection obviously is great, but one of the issues with motion detection is a lot of things trigger motion detection. So if you are just using it for generic search functionality as well, you can say only record when a person's been seen, or you can also just look back only when there's actually a person in the view. Which means you're not just kind of like looking at a lot of empty video or a lot of video with just like shadows and there's a camera that I use a lot when I'm showing motion detection, and anytime it's the street lights come on or the sun moves behind a cloud or any of those things, they all trigger the motion detection. This really takes it to another level. If you just for generic searching, there's a huge amount of functionality behind using the VCA plugin. So,
and one thing I'd like to mention here is, Simon, would you help to go back to the object tab again? Thanks a lot. So you see, under any type, there's an option called select areas. So you can even cross-compare the metadata from the object and the location. So for example, you can search for people, and then you can select the area like lower right. Then the result will only show you people that are detected at the lower right of the videos. So it's really helpful if it's a wide angle camera. You are searching for a specific like suspect. So you can search for people, and then you know like the route of the person. Then you can select the area and the video to narrow down your search further. Yeah, so that's also one of the things I use quite often when doing some investigation task. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's a camera that I use quite often, which is there's a freeway in the background and there's a freeway on the left-hand side. So pretty much there's constant traffic and vehicles, but then there's just one slip road down the side that has the occasional car. So if you just wanted to see when there was a car just going down the slip road and not just constantly all the time running on the freeway in the background, you can actually say, okay, I want to see anytime there's a car, but I only want to see anytime there's a car within a specific area. So you can see at the moment, Simon has got the blue box there. He's only looking for any time there was a person detected within that little blue box over the crosswalk in the background. So if if you wanted to look for illegal jaywalking, for instance, if you're in the States or whatever it may be, you could say, okay, well, I don't care about the crosswalk because that's going to be mainly fine. So I just want to see anytime there was a person maybe walking across any of these other areas where there's no crosswalk. And you can draw the box down the bottom here instead of over there. So yeah, it adds a lot of value in terms of the search and looking for what you're saying. So if you start to add it all together, right? So you start talking about the fact that you can do the colors, as Kevin mentioned, they're going to be doing colors soon, and then well, you can already do colors, but colors will be integrated into NX soon. And then you've got the classification in terms of color, vehicle, or person, and then you can also search in specific fields on the video stream. You're getting very granular in terms of when you want to search for things. So if someone says, it was a red car and it was on this street over here, then you can just search for a red car on that street and just cut out all the other information, which really adds a ton of value when you're doing forensic searches, which seems to be a big trend at the moment. I know Kevin and I have spoke about it a few times, and forensic searching a video, just to narrow down the amount of man hours that you're having to like sit there and look through video, is becoming a really, really big value add, especially with the amount of data and the amount of video that people are capturing these days. Being able to forensically search it is a huge value across systems. So yeah, they really see a good use case for a wide range of things, not just alerting, but also for searching as well. So a couple more questions came in. Any examples from the night? Yeah, so do you have any nighttime examples to show how well the system works at night, not just during the day, Simon or Kevin or Rob?
Yeah, Simon, I think you could probably show that traffic one.
I don't have any available with me at the moment to show you, unfortunately.
Okay. There are some on our website, but we can. So, Gary, Rob, have you got that handy?
I've got videos, but they obviously won't be run through the NX plugin.
We can
just show. Yeah, so we've got nothing on the NX plugin, but you can have a look at how it detects. So yeah, we got that one with the classification on it as well, haven't we? I think.
Yes.
I will make you the presenter, Rob, so you can share your screen.
Are you talking about the Bolton clip, Kevin?
Yeah.
Just.
Dr. Rob Dupree, everyone. just. I love giving Rob a good intro to everybody.
Okay. So hopefully this is being. I should be hoping. Yeah, so this is exactly as Kevin was referring to earlier in terms of this is really where the benefit of a deep learning based tracker comes in. So we don't use motion at all in this. What we're basically looking for is a deep learning model to classify and detect an object. So where are the cars, where are the trucks, where are the people? And then we apply on top of that our tracking technologies, so we can link the same vehicles to the same IDs over time. And the advantage here is that whereas motion, if you had vehicles that were moving together at roughly the same speed, they would kind of merge into one object typically. Whereas in this situation, with that granularity, we can still classify, 3 cars when there are 3 cars. And as Kevin mentioned, the algorithm is smart enough to draw bounding boxes around just the vehicle itself. So the illumination that you're seeing from things like headlights, so here, for example, is a really good example where we just ignore those. Whereas with motion, because it's pixels that are changing, then that would be something that would be picked up. The other things we've implemented here are stuff like the ability for us to detect or ignore stopped vehicles. So since this video was produced, we've had a number of changes to our engine. So we can have settings that will say, we don't track an object unless it starts moving. So if you wanted to do things like, car forecourts, where a typical example where you'd have lots of vehicles, but they're stationary, but the algorithm would still detect them, we can ignore those. We won't send alarms on them. We can ignore objects that come to rest after a certain period of time. So again, if you've got a situation where people are parking their car and you wanted to do maybe counting of available car parking spaces, then this is an algorithm and a tracker that will support that as well.
Yeah, I think that's you can see like the accuracy. Obviously this isn't the integration with NX, but I think you've all seen the integration with NX now over the last hour. So it's obviously will come in the same way, but you can see here from the VCA side how well it's tracking everything, even in nighttime. So it looks very good. So we have another question. Just 1 second. When we use VCA cameras, the GPU we need in the NX client should be according to the NX client requirements or according to the GPU demands you showed in the presentation. Yeah, if you're using the VCA cameras, I'm assuming there's no extra load on the server side, so it will just be the NX requirements, right? You don't need any GPU additions if it's
No, if you're using the IPAI cameras, they have GPUs in them, so you don't need a GPU in the server for that.
Yeah, and we don't actually need a GPU on the server either, because we don't use the GPU. We use the CPU for transcoding and decoding video. So you only need the GPU on the client side, and that is mainly for the interface versus actually doing any actual grunt in terms of the decoding of video. So if you're using VCA cameras, you can go pretty lightweight on the hardware side in general, because obviously NX is very lightweight. And I saw actually that you can install on Raspberry Pi the VCA server as well, or?
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, we have both Windows and Linux support, and we have that both across x86 and now ARM as well. So Raspberry Pis can run them, and also the NVIDIA Jetson series. So NVIDIA have a embedded CPU series, which are the Jetson Nano, TX2, and Xavier boards. And again, all of our deep learning algorithms will run on those because, again, they're NVIDIA-based acceleration cards. So yeah, those devices we're finding are becoming really, really popular because, we work on this kind of retrospective install scenario where people have already put in their money into infrastructure, typically for security, and they want to reuse those cameras. And for small sites, so maybe small shops, for example, or a number of small sites across an area, then just putting in a little TX2 or a Xavier will do kind of 5 or 6 channels. And that's all the cameras they would need. So you can embed those and then send the metadata up to NX remotely if required. So it's a great way of bringing analytics to even small sites without forking out huge sums of money on very expensive servers.
Yeah, and that's where actually it ties in really even better with NX, because obviously we can install on all the Jetson boards, and we can install on Raspberry Pi as well. So if you wanted to use the smaller deployment like that, like Rob was mentioning with the Jetson boards, we can actually install NX Witness server, and the client runs on the Jetson if you wanted to. But you could basically have a couple of Jetsons, and they could all hive together using our Hive architecture, which I'm sure a lot of people already know about. So if it's multiple sites, if you've got multiple small convenience stores, or even if it's just a lower cost way of doing it than using like a big Dell server or something to have 3 Jetson appliances, NX can install on the same device as the VCA software and integrate directly to it. So it kind of really does marry well together in terms of not just how well the integration is done or how the 2 softwares work together, but also in terms of an infrastructure point of view. we work very well together in terms of we can both install on kind of any very cross-platform based systems, and then obviously NX with the Hive architecture can bring it all into a single system, whether it's multiple sites or if it's multiple devices on a single site. Everything ties together very, very nicely. So yeah, it's looking good, that's for sure.
I've just put on the screen here, James, the 180, yep, the single sensor 180-degree camera. So it's quite a unique product. So it's a single sensor 180-degree camera. This is the 4K version running the deep learning filter. I just wanted to show this because there's going to be lots of trees moving, and you see we're not sending any alerts, but here we picked up a car coming around, and we're going to track that vehicle all the way around to the end of the screen, so you can see the range and the scope of the deep learning filter and the analytics. And even though you're still getting lots of movement on these trees and all the shade and everything else, we're not sending any alerts. We're quite comfortable, and now we're seeing people starting to appear from out of the scenes and out of the shade as well. So it's a very powerful tool, and the deep learning filter is very, very lightweight in its GPU usage. I'd say it's, you can run this on a Pi, you could run this easily on a Jetson Nano.
That's good. Yeah, and obviously with camera views like that, that's where like being able to filter, like only looking for specific areas with our like ability to search the metadata that only came from specific parts of the stream really comes in helpful as well. Cool. I think that might be all the questions. If anyone else has one, feel free to chuck it in now. If not, thank you guys for joining, and thanks for giving us an overview of the application and showing us how it works. I think a lot of our team are pretty excited to be cooperating with you guys even further. Like we've been cooperating for a long time anyway, but yeah, it looks really good. So thanks for showing us today.
So it's our pleasure. Thank you for coming along. And anyone has any questions, you know to reach us, and we are looking for some particularly special, nice commercial terms for you as well. So let's hope we can do some business together.
For sure. All right. On that note, I don't know if you want to say anything, Jason, but if everyone's good, then thank you everyone for turning up. And if you think this has got some value and you want to show it to any of your customers or any of your colleagues or whatever it may be, we will be uploading it to YouTube in the next couple of days. So look out for that, and feel free to share it around, because I think it really does add a lot of value to the NX Witness system. So look out for that. And I'll let anyone else who wants to say any final goodbyes now, if Jason or Kevin or Rob or Simon or Sergey or whoever.
No, just goodbye and thank you for attending.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah.